So lately, it feels like we've all been under attack when it comes to the good herb. And if it's not things being made legal only to be made illegal again, then lawmakers are imposing crazy taxes to completely destroy legal markets. Today, we're taking a trip over to Michigan because their Democrat governor just made everything tons more expensive by imposing a new 24% tax. But first, we're taking a trip to Ohio because while it may be legal, it may not be as chill as you may think. And a new Republican-led bill aims to make it illegal to consume any herb that was not grown in Ohio.
Right now, an effort to put new restrictions on marijuana and hemp in Ohio taking a step forward. The measure just passed in the House and just the latest push now by lawmakers to regulate the drugs. WLWT News 5's Giacomo Luca joining us this morning. And Giacomo, what is included in this bill?
Yeah, Kelly, Senate Bill 56 really covers a wide range of new regulations on marijuana and hemp across Ohio. This really aimed at addressing some of the concerns with the state's recreational marijuana program, which was approved by voters just 2 years ago. It would ban smoking and vaping marijuana in public and pretty much everywhere with the exception of a private residence. It's also going to ban the possession of marijuana bought in any out-of-state dispensary. The bill also capping the amount of THC in certain products and also includes new rules for intoxicating hemp. Now, restaurants and bars, they'll still be able to sell low THC seltzers and beverages, but other intoxicating hemp products would now only be sold at licensed stores. There's also going to be a new tax on intoxicating hemp sales. The bill is not going to touch CBD products. Those don't have intoxicating effects. Local businesses we spoke with say they're really optimistic about the plan, and supporters say this is about protecting children.
We are taking care of children. We are saying you can't manufacture products that look like teddy bears and fruit and candy. We are saying you can't have advertising that targets children. No public consumption, but you can consume on your own property.
There's many CBD stores and other hemp retail stores in the Ohio area that are doing it the right way. And some of these gas stations and vape shops that are not following the laws or not following what should be the law is actually what hurt us in the first place. So we're grateful that hopefully we're on the right path.
Now this pretty much reminds me of the old saying, Peter pays for Paul and Paul pays for all. And in situations where there are a few bad actors who are obviously not doing the right thing, selling at gas stations, convenience stores, not checking IDs, those folks who actually are doing the right thing, selling at licensed shops and checking IDs, they're going to be paying for the errors of the bad actors. Now as you guys would know from our reporting on this whole thing, just a few weeks ago, Ohio's governor signed into law an emergency executive order banning all forms of THC hemp. But it turns out now they're taking steps to regulate, especially since they were hit with a lawsuit.
Overnight, Ohio lawmakers passed a bill banning nearly all hemp products except for drinks. They also made some changes to marijuana laws. Our Columbus Bureau reporter Morgan Trout was there well into the early morning and is now breaking down what you need to know about the THC deal.
It was an hours-long joint effort, one that took past midnight before Ohio's House finally blazed a new trail for THC policy.
You have a good settlement when both sides are equally unhappy.
In the last session of the year, the House banned the vast majority of intoxicating hemp, products with low-level THC that you can buy in gas stations and smoke shops, or stores like Meredith Thero's.
It's just complete overreach with a product that has never been known to kill anyone, unlike other drugs and alcohol and prescription medications.
She is urging the Senate not to vote to agree with the House's bill, one that was a deal between the two chambers.
A business that I have devoted my entire life savings, my entire life to, it would most likely put me out of business.
But breweries and stores with liquor licenses will still be able to sell THC drinks until the federal ban on hemp goes into effect next year. And Youngstown area Republican Tex Fisher pushed for hemp to be revisited if Congress rescinds its ban.
We're going to come back to the table and figure out a long-term solution to beverages should the federal government change.
On the marijuana side, cities with dispensaries will finally get a part of the tax revenue from sales. But there were additional provisions added that Cleveland Democrat Bride Rose Sweeney says aren't fair.
If passed and signed into law, we'll go back on what the people voted on, it finds more ways to recriminalize Ohioans for being basic users.
New provisions would make it illegal to have marijuana in your car in some instances. The changes could also jeopardize jobs if someone tests positive for THC. Cleveland area Republican Jamie Callender says that he will be tackling the criminalization issues.
We will have some legislation introduced as soon as Friday, potentially, that will start adding to the protections that those folks who are consumers, legal consumers, have.
Although he voted yes, he says that this was a tough decision for him. He's been leading the charge to protect marijuana access for years, and he says that this deal could have been worse.
I'm not done fighting for recreational use. This was not a home run, but let's call it a single.
The Senate is set to come back in December and will likely concur on the deal. At the Ohio State House, I'm Morgan Trout reporting.
So as you guys can see, when it comes to what voters approved over in Ohio, there are a lot of changes which are on the way. Perhaps the biggest one of those changes is that Ohio is considering legislation that would effectively criminalize the possession and use of products purchased out of state, essentially treating them as contraband. And this change is a part of an ongoing legislative effort to overhaul the state's voter-approved recreational laws. And while some folks may say that this new law aims to protect the Ohio cannabis industry, others may say that it just aims to criminalize Ohioans. But the truth is, what we can see from this is that this bill aims to make using any herb grown outside of the state illegal. And yes, we're looking at you, Michigan. Now, thankfully, while they are making changes, and some of these changes may not be all that good, they're leaving some of the other laws intact. Have a look.
Now, Senate Bill 56 also keeps recreational marijuana legal, just as voters approved in 2023. Under the legislation, it lets people wipe out any old low-level marijuana possession convictions or guilty pleas if the amount matches what is legal today. The bill also merges medical and recreational rules into one statewide system and keeps the 10% marijuana tax in place. It clarifies that adults can use marijuana anywhere on their own property, not just inside of their home. You can still grow weed at your house with the restricted allowance of up to 6 plants with a limit of 12 plants per adult household. And 36% of marijuana tax revenue will now go back to communities that have dispensaries. It's also important to note, back out here live this morning in Cleveland, public safety is a huge part of this. There is now a public ban on smoking marijuana outside. In addition to that, the lawmakers are pointing out that this better helps the kids. So they're going to change the packaging on all labels to make sure that this doesn't appeal to kids, so it doesn't look like candy. Of course, Tiffany, we're going to follow through on all of this. We want to mention again, not a done deal just yet. Cleared the House, then it's the Senate, then it's over to Governor DeWine.
Yeah, we know child safety was really important for Governor DeWine. Does anything change, though, when it comes to employers? Could people still be drug tested at work?
You can still be drug tested at work if your work has some sort of prior policy in place. That remains. Of course, we put this out there now. 5 years from now, will that potentially change? We'll keep a close eye, though.
So there are a lot of changes happening over in Ohio, and some advocates are already pushing back while other states are following suit. And we break it down a little bit more and show you guys in a little bit more detail. But before we do, just a quick reminder, if you're getting value from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support us further, join the ICANN VIP Bean Club or cop some merch from our merch store. And if you happen to be a home gardener, try the ICANN Organics, use the code LEGAL. It works on the bundle and the beans.
Tonight, advocates are pushing back against potential changes to Ohio's marijuana law. Voters legalized recreational marijuana 2 years ago. Now, several town halls are planned to educate people on what organizers say are efforts at the State House to recriminalize cannabis. The first was held today at the Columbus Library's Hilliard branch. Organizers say the point is to create conversation around proposed legislation changing the law. They say the stigma surrounding marijuana has taken decades to shift, and that work continues today.
We want to share that truth, the criminalization of it, what it's done as far as breaking up families, taking children from families, putting people, incarcerating people, hampering with jobs, hampering with getting a home loan, getting housing or whatever it may be. So yeah, we want to update that you do have rights.
And groups like that are really important. They're doing exactly what we do here on this channel, and that is raise awareness. So that a lot of folks know that lawmakers, when they're trying to push these sly things through, you guys can be aware and push back on it. Because the truth is, when you guys make your voices heard, it really does help. And that's absolutely clear, because even over in Tennessee, officials have reached an agreement with the hemp industry to temporarily allow THCA sales. And that's Tennessee, a typically prohibitionist state. But it's not only prohibitionist states grappling with this new change, because even over in Minnesota, their governor is exploring how to address the impending federal hemp ban that will disrupt their thriving industry. Now, there are a lot of folks who may not necessarily be fans of Governor Tim Walz. I myself am not really one, but let's hear what he had to say.
Yeah. Yeah, we're exploring it, and again, I think this is the problem when you had, the big bill come out that this was a surprise to everyone that this would be in there. I think we have a thriving industry. While it's new, we're starting to see now that I think our regulatory process, I think everything around, and this is of course on the cannabis side of things, but hemp adjacent where we've had the opportunities, it's very disruptive. So I think at this point in time, we certainly welcome that industry. We welcome the work that had been done. And listening to the folks who are in this, this came out of left field to them, unprepared for it, and I think we're still trying to understand what that means.
Now, sticking with Ohio, we've heard that their prices when it comes to the good herb are through the roof. They're absolutely astronomical, and that leads a lot of folks to travel to neighboring states to get their herb. But it turns out now Michigan, one of the states that they go to, their prices are also going to increase, because Michigan's governor signed into law a new 24% wholesale tax on top of the good herb.
After months of negotiations, state lawmakers have passed a new state budget. One of the most controversial parts of the new spending plan is a new 24% wholesale tax on marijuana, which will be used to fund road construction. Our Noel Friel is live with the perspective of the businesses that will be affected most. Noel?
Yeah, Kimberly, this new wholesale tax on marijuana is expected to bring in around $420 million a year. Now, local dispensaries are speaking out, arguing the added cost of this tax will get passed on to consumers and could even cause some smaller businesses to go under. Despite objections from Michigan's cannabis industry leaders, a 24% wholesale tax on marijuana is set to begin in January, part of a long-term plan to fund road construction in the state budget.
It's like a gut punch to the industry. We're already overtaxed from the federal government. We were already taxed heavily from the state government. And now to have a 24% increase, a lot of people are going to figure out whether or not this industry is worthwhile.
Al Williams is the president of the Detroit Cannabis Industry Association and president of a company that owns several dispensaries throughout the state. He says with this new tax, consumers will start to see the price of products increase in the new year.
In some cases, it's going to be $3 to $4 per gram of an increase. Your gummies are going to go up. Anything that's processed is going to go up. And of course, regular flour is going to go up too.
Industry leaders say the new tax will push more consumers to buy from the black market. Williams says the cost of ensuring products are state and federally compliant already puts dispensaries at a competitive disadvantage.
We're already getting beat over the heads by the Cannabis Regulatory Authority with basic fees. It costs me $10,000 to $20,000 if I have a misprint on one of my tags.
With a cannabis market that's already oversaturated, Williams says smaller businesses will struggle to make ends meet once the tax kicks in.
So oversaturation, overtaxation, overregulation, more red tape, more hurdles, more fees, more expenses, more licensing costs. Does that sound like a recipe for success, guys? Or does that sound like a recipe for disaster? Because let's be real, the legal cannabis markets across America, a lot of them are suffering. I mean, have a look at California. The biggest legal market in the world also has the biggest black market in the world. I mean, make it make sense. Now, a lot of folks say taxation is theft, and I do believe that taxation is necessary for certain things in society to actually run properly. But the problem is, a lot of these lawmakers use taxation as a means to get revenue for pretty much anything. And in this situation, the people have actually filed lawsuits. The industry's filed lawsuits against the state of Michigan, fighting against this new tax hike.
A Michigan marijuana industry group is suing the state government over a new 24% wholesale tax in the new budget. It claims the tax is unconstitutional and would hurt already struggling cannabis businesses. 13 on your side's Nick Nelson spoke with a local dispensary owner tonight and has reaction to the lawsuit.
Yeah, Juliet, this is the complaint filed by the Michigan Cannabis Industry Association against the state of Michigan hours after Governor Gretchen Whitmer signed the state budget that includes the sales tax hike.
In order to amend a ballot initiative, you do need that supermajority. Because this was put in front of the will of the people, right? The people of Michigan voted this into law, and you need to respect the constitutionality of that bill.
Now let me break this down for you guys, because Michigan voters voted on recreational herb quite some time ago, and now we're seeing a change to the recreational herb market, and it's a big change because this tax hike could not only cause businesses to go out of business, but also cause a lot of these products to become a lot more expensive. Now, this new tax hike is set to go into effect the 1st of January 2026. And what this association is seeking to do is get a temporary injunction, a pause, and hopefully eventually strike it down completely. Now, here the association is arguing that the law seeks to change the language of a 2018 ballot proposal, which specifically included a 10% excise tax. And now, by essentially increasing that excise tax rate from 10 to 24%, they consider that to be unconstitutional. And I quote, "Michigan voters made their voices heard loud and clear in 2018 when they passed a citizen ballot initiative legalizing the good herb, and this 24% wholesale tax was imposed in violation of the provisions in the state's constitution." And obviously, the state is arguing that what they're doing is absolutely fine. Now, just a few weeks ago, Michigan's Governor Gretchen Whitmer was questioned about this very issue, and we'll show you guys what she had to say in a bit. But first, let's hear what dispo owners over in Michigan have to say about this crazy tax hike. Have a look.
The cannabis industry in Michigan is bracing for a new tax some fear will hurt local businesses.
The state's additional 24% wholesale marijuana tax is set to take effect on January 1st, raising the total tax to 40%.
13 on your side's Kara Patterson spoke with one owner about the impact, and she joins us now with more. Kiara.
Lawmakers say it's about fixing roads, but some dispensaries believe it could drive customers to illegal markets.
It'll make buying cannabis from licensed shops in Michigan there's less incentive to do so when the prices go up.
Michigan's cannabis boom could soon hit a wall, with the steep new 24% wholesale tax taking effect January 1st. Joshua Covert, CEO of Meds Cafe, says the industry is already fighting back in court.
Well, right now there is a lawsuit pending at the Court of Claims that will hopefully, at least stop or temporarily stop the tax, and we're waiting to see what's going on with that.
If the tax stands, Michigan's marijuana will face some of its highest costs yet, stacked on top of the existing 10% excise and 6% sales tax.
The primary argument, from what I understand, is that it circumvents the direct democracy. This was a voter initiative.
Exactly.
We put it together as the people of the state of Michigan, and they're essentially circumventing that bill with a new tax.
The Michigan Cannabis Industry Association, representing more than 400 businesses, filed a lawsuit against the tax, calling it unconstitutional. The state says it'll bring in $420 million for road funding. But Covert says the tax, combined with the ongoing federal shutdown, could ripple through the market.
Some processors and growers are anticipating a downturn and a less profitable 2026, and I've seen some layoffs and people getting reduced hours, etc.
Now, the tax revenue generated from the sales of the good herb are used for a lot of different things, and a lot of times those reasons and the things that they are using it for sound really noble. Fixing the roads, kids' schools, helping victims of all types of domestic abuse. But in reality, what we see is the situation, and I showed you guys this on our last episode, where they use it for other projects, such as fixing signs. Have a look.
TV5's Zane O'Meara shows us how the city of Davison is using its share
to say hi.
Soon, signs like this one welcoming people into Davison will be switched out with new ones, all paid for by the city's marijuana tax revenue.
Instead of just throwing that money into something else and into the general fund, it's like we're gonna show you a difference in the community with this money.
So when they said they were using the tax revenue to fix the roads, you guys can see why the roads are still so bad, because a lot of the times they don't always use it on what they say they were going to use it for. But that said, Governor Whitmer said she's going to use the taxes to fix the roads, and she actually spoke on this not too long ago, so let's hear exactly what she had to say.
I want to talk about the timing of it, but let me get into roads. You got the roads money there. To do that, you had to get a 24% tax on marijuana. Now, for an industry that's already paying a sales tax and another 10% tax, do you think it's fair to add that 24% on top of all of that for marijuana owners?
Well, I understand the concern. I don't want to sound like I'm unsympathetic. We did have a lot of conversation about how do we make sure that we regulate and support the industry, but also that we have a responsible policy on the books. You know, the 24% actually makes us commensurate with other states in our region. It is not out of line, and it's not even close to the tobacco tax on tobacco products or taxes on alcohol. So it was a negotiated number that was arrived at, and I think that it is something that will ensure that we can continue to provide services to people and that the industry can still thrive.
Now, the governor did have more to say about that tax increase, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what she said. But before we do, let's have a look at what other cities in Michigan have in fact been spending their cut of the tax revenue on. Have a look.
This month, the state divided up $10 million worth of marijuana tax revenue and handed it out to the places that helped them make it. 38 cities, 38 counties, 21 townships, and 7 villages all got $28,000 per shop. Grand Rapids wasn't included. The city didn't get its first shop until the start of fiscal year 2021. But when the year is over, now they know how much they're getting.
We estimate that next March, we would receive approximately $330,000.
Kristen Turkelson, GR City Planner, says when the city hits its projected peak in 2025, tax revenue from the state could be as high as $600,000 a year.
We do expect that it will increase.
After that, the city will simply run out of land for new shops. The state departments of education and transportation also get a cut of the funding, and city cannabis manager Al Romero-Gabu says that Grand Rapids has taken on the added task of funding equity programs, now extending a hand to those who were set back by marijuana's prohibition.
So typically the tax revenue is distributed across different cities, counties, and even villages within your state. And that makes it even more interesting to find out where the tax dollars actually go. But let's take it back to Flashpoint because they discussed a little bit further the fallout from this whole tax increase.
Senate Democrats wanted to increase spending to 84. The other is, and this is where I think there's going to be a lot of disappointment on both sides, raising taxes on cannabis 24% in order to fund roads is foolish, and there's zero chance that it's going to work. That industry already has razor-thin margins at best. And I can tell you, my wife worked in cannabis in California and Michigan for a decade. The gray market and the black market in cannabis is still alive and well. And when you start driving up the costs of taxes on legal cannabis, it is going to drive people into the gray and black markets, home care providers, and buying in a bathroom at a dive bar. So it's going to kill cannabis, but they're also not going to get the projected revenues for the roads that they're promising in the deal that they announced.
A portion of that actually makes it a 40% tax. And I asked the governor about that on this program a few minutes ago, who said she didn't take that lightly.
No, I mean, I think, listen, we know that the cannabis industry was fighting to not have this tax on their industry. They are, as Jason said, have razor-thin margins. And I think what we're going to see is, unfortunately, a lot of other businesses go out of business because they just can't make the margins that they need to survive.
So it obviously doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that excessive taxation and overregulation will destroy the industry. But let me know what you guys think about all that. It's not about what I think, it's about what you guys think. So drop your thoughts and concerns in the comments down below. And in our next video, we head over to California because they were also cracking down on THC hemp, and there's a secret reason behind that. We expose it all. It's pretty crazy. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's coming up right now.